All right, well, welcome to our Getting Started call. So today what I want to talk about is the game plan chat. And this is a great way to actually either get started strong yourself. So if you haven't already had a chat like this with your upline when you got started, I encourage you to either get with them, or you will find that you'll actually be able to work through it yourself. So you might have a buddy that you're actually able to sit down and do this with as well. Or as I said, just work through the processes. Now, where I'm pulling a lot of this content is from GoPro, okay? So it's a fantastic book. If you haven't got that in your resource, I'm going to encourage you all to get it and have it as a resource. I actually have, when I was back down in Tassie on the weekend, I found my original copy, which was one of the pre-release copies. So right at the very beginning when Eric actually did this book. But what he did was gather, I suppose, really, there's no new information. It's just about gathering what we've all done for years. And I think sometimes we can kind of try to reinvent the wheel. And more often than not, we come back to where we originally started. And that's what this is about. You know, I remember right at the beginning of my journey as well, having a conversation like this with some of my leaders, my upline, and also doing the same. I used to have a little sheet that I would fill out on, and I know everybody's gone very technology, but I still love my sheets. I'd have a little sheet where I would have on there when I was sitting down with that person who had said yes, and I would have everything on there. I would have the cats and the dogs' names, the kids' names, their birthday, all of those things, so that I really got to know what was important about that person, what was important to them. If they have certain hobbies or whatever, I had that on there as well. And then I also would have, you know, exactly when they started, so I knew how to track how they were going for each promotion or bonus or whatever. The more we know about a person, the more we can help them. So if we think about when we're getting started in that, the very first question to ask yourself, or ask a new person who's sitting in front of you who has said yes, is what got you interested? What was it that actually sparked the interest to go, you know what, I'm actually going to give this a go. I'm going to hand over my credit card. I'm going to pay $160 to give this a go. What was that? So taking some time to actually think about, well, what was it that got you interested? Now, this first part of the chat, if you're doing it with yourself, you can probably be a little bit more introspective. But if you're sitting down and you're doing this with somebody, honestly, this takes 5-10 minutes probably to do it. But it is the best 5 to 10 minutes that you can actually spend with somebody, because you start to get to know the person behind the person. You know, we see what's going on for people and whatever like that, but we want to start to dig. We want to start to really get to know someone, so we know what are the things that actually light them up, what switches them on, and that. The next question is getting them to start to dream. What could this be for you? Okay, so we know what got people interested in that, but what could this be for them? Because a Juice Plus business can literally change people's lives. It can go from being something that is, enough money to be able to pay for their Juice Plus, through to something that could be $500 to $1,000 a month. Now, when we look at that, for some people that might not sound a lot, but for others, that's a mortgage payment, that's a car payment, that could be the choices of where their kids go to school. And what we've got to remember is, you know, a lot of people who join our industry are going to be micro entrepreneurs. So it's going to be that $500 to $1,000, maybe $1,500 a month that's dropping in month on month. When we put that into perspective, you've got to ask yourself, how much money would you need to have in the bank to actually be receiving that in a residual every month, month on month? And when we start to look at that, that's hundreds of thousands of dollars at an interest rate that, you know what, it's just dropping in. So most people don't have that, and they can actually get to create that kind of an income right out of the gate. So what could this be for you? Start to kind of, you know, think about it and dream around that. And as you kind of go into it, it's about affirming the decision. So first of all, first and foremost, I'm going to ask each of you that are either watching this recording, and that is to actually congratulate yourself on making the decision. Okay, and if you've got somebody who's sitting in front of you that you're doing this with, congratulate them, because they actually have made a decision to make a difference that could actually change their lives and the lives of their family or those other people that they get to impact around. And that's no matter what. Even if they were just they signed up to get the Juice Plus for free, it's a decision that actually will change their lives, because it means that Juice Plus will be going into their bodies year on year, month on month, and all that for future generations kind of thing. So I think it's really important to make sure that we congratulate them. The second part of it is also to make this statement, and I think this is really, really important. It's knowing that the success or failure in this business is completely up to them. We're here to walk the journey with them. However, at the end of the day, it is going to be about what they're prepared to do. So it's letting them know that we're going to be able to be here to link arms and to walk side by side with them. But the person who actually will determine the success is actually the person who looks at them from the mirror. And so it's just knowing that it's really, really important to do that. So our job as a sponsor is to actually get them as independent as quickly as possible. And it's not because we're kind of, pushing people out of the nest. It's actually because at the end of the day, this is their business and we will all build it maybe slightly differently or whatever. So it's really important that we actually set a goal to get them as independent as possible. So they know where to look if they need information. They know who to contact. They know that, each day they're going to get up and do those high-paying activities, having conversations, etc., etc. So that's kind of, that second part of it as well. It's also, I think, setting, and I always like to do this, is setting the realistic goals, that there will be people who will agree with you or people who won't. There will be people who say yes, there will be people who say no. It's all good. There will be ups and downs. I don't understand really, and I know I went through it myself, but at the end of the day, life is a roller coaster. There are ups and downs in life, and yet we expect to join a business all sunshine and roses. It's not. There will be ups and downs. The downs make the highs so much sweeter. So that's the beautiful thing about it, just knowing that it's there, but knowing that there's support around to be able to support and encourage. And that excuses play no part in this. It's about playing above the line, taking responsibility for what it is that you're going to do and not buying into other people's stories, getting to what it is that you want out of this business and really going for it. The third part of the game plan interview is kind of having a look at a getting started checklist. Now, in our business, if you think about it, we have the rocket tracking sheet, which is the beginnings of a checklist, a getting started checklist. Do they know about the DBF bonus? What was their start date and when would that run out? Setting up their virtual office. So, Eric talks about the first few things, setting people up with the appropriate products. And again, I'm a huge believer. A person's going to be a product of the product. When people say to me, can I do juice class and not be on the product? Straight away I say, look, you know what? No. Because at the end of the day, you've got to be authentic. You've got to be real. And if you're not a product of the product, how can you talk about it to other people? So if somebody asks me that, I'm very straight up with them. That's not an option kind of thing. For it. Now that doesn't mean that they have to be able to afford to be on all products at once, but I would be saying to them, your goal is that you are at least on our foundational products, which are your fruit and veg, and then after that to be able to add in. If you're in a position where you can be premium, brilliant, fantastic. You know what? You don't have to be eating juice all the time, but you need to know what it tastes like, because you're going to have mamas or whatever like that are going to be asking you the question. And the same with the complete. Again, it's not about taking it every single day, but it is about knowing that, okay, well, what does it taste like? So that you can actually, talk to about it. And of course, now we've got our omegas as well. So the goal is to be able to aim to be on, most of your products as a good foundational base, but it's not about you having to be all the time. But you definitely would need to be a product of the product. And I think our foundation product, our fruit and veg, the very first product that came out is the one as a minimum that we should be looking at to be getting started on that. The second step is making sure that we're set up with the appropriate tools. Now, for us, we've got our virtual office. We have our YouTube training channel as the first 2 points of contact. So there's those excellent resources in there, making sure that a person is added into the community. So in other words, they're added into the Facebook group and they're even welcomed in there. Or, if you've got a greater team group, that you're making sure that you're welcoming your new teamies into your team groups as well. So it's really, especially in today's environment where oftentimes we have people that are joining our community that may not even live in the same town, sometimes not even in the same country. You want to make sure that people are feeling supported in a way that allows them to link arms with other people. So that's kind of, 2 and 3. And 4 then, Erica, is about making sure your new distributor has a basic understanding of the comp plan. Now, I'm a firm believer that the most important promotion is the next promotion. Okay, yes, you might want to be a national marketing director one day, but the promotion that's in front of you right now is the most important one. So if you've got somebody who's brand new started, then I'm talking DVF and SDVF, because those two really are combined in that first 40 days. Okay, when somebody's an SDVF, you want to teach them how to be qualified business and working to SC. When somebody's an SC, it's SSC. So giving them that basic overview. But also for the detailed people, then they might want to know the ins and outs, letting them know where to go to find that. So there's a video on YouTube, and in their virtual office under resources, the whole compensation plan is there. If somebody, you will get occasionally somebody who wants to go in and know every little detail of what it is, it's there in black and white. You don't have to be the expert, and I think whether it comes to our product, whether it comes to our compensation plan, you need to know what's important for you in this moment, but you don't have to be the expert in everything. Be the messenger, not the message. So make sure that you point and point people in the right direction. And this is especially important when it comes to the product, where you may be in a position where you are a health professional or whatever like that. You can sometimes start to want to be the expert in everything. You'll never recruit a big business if they feel they've got to be a health professional or an expert in some way. Use the tools. So even when you know the answer, if there's a tool that you can point people to instead, using a video or a form or something like that, use that as well, and that will really hold you in good stead. And the 5th one that he talks about in the game plan is to make sure your new distributor has a fundamental understanding of how to properly invite their prospects to understand more about what you've got to offer. So that's really the art of conversation, the art of inviting. So important as an upline to know what other events are going on. So even for yourself, if you're a brand new person, what are some of the events that might be happening that you're able to plug into? Okay, so if you are part of a team that hasn't got maybe a health program that they're promoting or whatever like that, become part of the Healthy Living Transformation. Get part of the Shred 10 group, because there are ongoing events and supports and everything like that, so they can invite guests along to those calls if there's not something that's happening as part of your bigger group. But if there is something that's happening as part of a bigger group, then make sure that you're plugging them into that. I think that's really, really important. And then at the very beginning of this, kind of the part 4 of the game plan interview, is actually helping people get that first customer or their first distributor. And the best way to do that is inviting to events and 3-way calls. Not being afraid to get on the phone with the person, because that way then you're able to talk to their contact alongside them, okay, and you get to be the person who adds a little bit of the extra information and also edifies the upline sponsor. Or events. There is nothing more powerful than events. For me, it's events. It was just when was the next event, and the next event was the most important one. That was the one that you're always building for, not the one 2 weeks down the track. Even if you know you're having one every week, it's the next one. The next one is really, really important. So make sure that they're aware of what does that actually look like, and that as well. And then to wrap up the game plan interview, or even for yourself, is you set some tasks in place. So it could be as simple as getting on the next training. It could be, setting them a challenge to sign up that first customer, okay, which, oftentimes is family or friend. So that first conversation can be setting up their first 3-way call. There's got to be some action always out of a meeting. And the reason being is that this is what happens. This is how you actually sort out the people that are going to do the do, as opposed to the people who are going to have a great time talking about it and never actually getting around to doing anything. And in this business, we are constantly sorting. We are always sorting the next people, the next person, the next person. And the reason being is that lots of people will come in thinking that this is an easy way to make money or whatever like that, and then suddenly realize, oh my gosh, I've actually got to do some work here. So what happens then is that they kind of go quiet. And sometimes people will go missing in action. They were texting madly and then suddenly it's dead. It's radio silence. It's like, alrighty, what happened? Where did they go? And it's just because, you know what, suddenly they realize, oh my gosh, I don't know if this is for me or not. And I always used to kind of, you know, leave, if I couldn't get somebody that gone into that radio silence, I would just leave them a message and just say, hey, it's your friendly stalker here, and that, just checking in. You know what, no matter where you are at the moment, you know, if you are feeling a little bit gun shy, if you're feeling like, you know what, you're a little bit overwhelmed or whatever like that, just let's have a conversation. We will work this business at your pace. Wherever you want to be at or wherever you want to go is totally fine. Just remember, I'm here to support you, so reach out. So you put the ball back into their court, but you also allow them to know that no matter what, it's okay. Because oftentimes when people are feeling overwhelmed or they're feeling like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do this, they think that they're the only person that that's ever happened to. And so it's important for them to know it's normal, it's okay. You're going to get disappointed when you get no's and all. It's all okay. You know, and even like some of the conversations we had earlier on, it's, you know, you'll get different people having different opinions and all the rest. It's okay. It's normal. It has happened, and it will continue to happen with people for, you know, generations to come. And that when we are stretching outside of our comfort zone, we actually force other people to do the same, just by being around us. And that's not always comfortable for people. So it's okay. It's cool. And that. And the last thing that I would say is when we are doing something like this, when we've got somebody in front of us and we are getting them started strong, you want to get them a win as quickly as possible. And if that win is getting them to DVF, those first 3 to 5 customers to get that first win, getting them to get some guests to an event, getting that first customer, whatever it might be, get the early wins in place. Because if we can get those in place, there's a confidence that builds with each one of those steps. So I think that that's really important. So to summarize, it's vital when somebody has given you a strong yes and they decided, yep, I'm joining this business, sitting down to do a game plan chat is, now you can split that up into a couple if you want, a couple of kind of conversations, but really going through all of this is no more than an hour with somebody. It could probably actually be 30 minutes. And that it just depends on how deep you want to go. And if it's somebody that you need to split it up and do a couple of 30-minute slots over that first week. But it's about loving on people. Now, like I said at the very beginning, if you've never had a game plan chat yourself, or you've got teamies and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I never did any of that. First of all, don't go below the line into blame, shame, and justify and be beating yourself up going, oh my goodness, I never did that. No wonder they haven't done anything, yada, 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 because that's the conversation we go to in our heads and just go, you know what, get on the phone to them and say, you know what, Sarah, I just realized I never did a game plan chat with you to get you started. I would love for us to have that conversation now. Are you open to that? And just set some coffee chats in place. And then set yourself a little checklist list of what you will do as you go forward from here with your game plan chat. And you will find that you will help people to get started stronger, and you'll have a lot of fun along the way.